Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, coming to you live from our studio here at Adesanwe Kanda in Accra. Also coming up, government moves to declare forests and river bodies security zones in fresh anti-Galamsey push. We'll hear from the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa. Also, farmers struggle with grain glut as government orders National Buffer Stock Company to step in. And later in the bulletin, the minority in Parliament is demanding that government immediately suspends further implementation of bilateral agreements with the United States on deportations pending parliamentary approval of same. These and many more coming up for the next 1 hour. Let's bring you the news summaries now.
Thank you very much, Martin. And the Ghana Police Service has dismantled a notorious armed robbery syndicate that has been targeting rural banks across several regions in the country. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Christian Teta Yohonu, made the announcement at a press conference held at the National Police Headquarters in Accra this morning. According to the IGP, the successful operation is a major breakthrough in the service's ongoing crackdown on organized armed robbery groups. 4 persons are battling for their lives after gas cylinder explosion at Edum in the city of Kumasi. The incident happened around 5 a.m. on Wednesday morning, September 24, 2025, when a food vendor and her workers were preparing their meals for sales. Information gathered by our news team from the disaster scene indicates that residents heard a loud blast and rushed to the scene, where they found 4 people injured. The affected victims were quickly rushed to the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital for treatment. The Upper West Regional Police Command has said it has launched a thorough investigation into the gruesome murder of 55-year-old Yahaya Issa, popularly known as Soja. The lifeless body of the deceased Soja was discovered on Sunday, September 21, 2025, at Wadori along the New Market, with visible injuries and blood stains on his head and face. ACP Peter Kamasa, Deputy Regional Police Commander, said a team of regional crime scene experts have been deployed to gather vital evidence to aid in the ongoing investigation. Finally, member states of ECOWAS, including Ghana, have begun reviewing the bloc's community levy in a bid to stem declining revenues and strengthening regional financing. The levy, a 0.5% tax on goods imported from non-ECOWAS countries, has been in place for more than 18 years, but is now facing compliance and efficiency challenges. Speaking to the media on the sidelines of the opening of an experts meeting in Accra to validate the draft regulation for the Community Levy Manual of Operations, the ECOWAS Commission's Director of Budget and Treasury, Moloku Azikwe, stressed that the review is crucial to safeguarding the levy's role as a reliable source of funding for regional integration programs. This will be it for the news summaries. A lot more on our website, 3news.com. Martin, over to you.
Thank you very much. Let's settle for the details of the stories now. And government says it is preparing a new measure to tackle illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey. Land and Natural Resources Minister Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa hinted that very soon forest reserves will, in the coming days, the minister hinted that forest reserves and water bodies will be declared security zones, a move expected to tighten enforcement and keep illegal miners away. The announcement comes at a time when pressure is mounted on government and by civil society groups, environmentalists, and even some lawmakers asking that government declare a state of emergency in its Galamsey fight, and specifically in Galamsey affected areas, citing the rapid destruction of rivers and forests across the country. Illegal mining has left once clean rivers like the Pra and Cobra and Ofing rivers heavily polluted, threatening drinking water supplies and farmland livelihoods. The situation, many say, is a national security threat, giving its link to organized crime, armed groups, and the loss of critical natural resources. Declaring forest reserves and water bodies as security zones, government believes this will give enforcement bodies stronger powers to protect these areas.
The government has the power at his disposal to take steps to deal with this. And I think that if you had listened to me comprehensively, one is the policy reform, one is the stakeholder engagement, one is to deal with the water, one is to strengthen enforcement. All of these things that I'm talking about, why did we establish the Blue Water Guards? And now, just in the last week or so, the president has made it very clear that we are moving a step that says that all the water bodies and the forest reserves are going to be national security zones. You know what that means? It's red zone, no go. And we are now preparing to deploy permanent security forces in these areas.
The water guards?
No, the water guard has been the first step. We've already trained 1,000. We are training more. We've deployed to the western, north, and they are making serious impact. What I'm saying is that the level of distraction that this new government came to meet, we are under no illusion that this is going to be solved in 8 months. But we are proud of what we are doing. We are seeing the progress. And at every time when we believe we have to strengthen what we are doing, we do. And that's exactly the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that we believe. And let me say that those who are really calling for the government to do more, we understand. This is a listening government, and we are going to do more, and we appreciate it. But let me tell you, those who don't even want them to be talking, it's those political apparatchiks who have caused the damage that we are trying to solve. They should really give us some break and give us a room. These are the people who have given almost 20-something thousand licenses, unprecedented in the history of this country, to political operatives, open the floodgate of our forests to be destroyed. I told you 44 out of 288 forests are decimated. In this short period of time, let me give you some statistics. And so when those political pundits, and I'm not talking about people who genuinely want the government to do more, we appreciate it. And we are going to work our hard until solve this problem. But, you know, for the MPP people who just damage this and we are trying to clean their act, they should give us a break. Listen, 1,400 arrests made in less than 8 months. Guess what? For almost 3 years, 845 arrests. Let me tell you how many people were prosecuted. 35. I'll give you statistics, okay? 440 excavators seized. Shamfans over 800. Now we've even given some to the Ministry of Agri. We are fighting this illegal money heads on. But, you know, we want the people of Ghana to stay with us. And they should take it from us, our heart and our soul and our commitment and what we are doing. And for those who genuinely want us to do more, we are saying that on a daily basis, we are checking our strategy and strengthening it.
Okay.
We've heard them about emergency, and we are moving to declare security zones. And the president is saying that all these are at our disposal. The state of emergency is at our disposal, but we believe that what we've laid down now must work.
And that's the voice of the Minister for Land and Natural Resources, Kofi Amaboa. Let's go to the phone lines now. We have been joined by security analyst and consultant Dr. Victor Doke, who is also a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. And then also we have Madam Aula Sawa, who is the co-chair of the Eco-Citizens Movement. So let's find out from the lady and gentleman who've joined us. Good evening to both of you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Right. I'll start with you, Aula Sawa. The specific phrase, declare state of emergency or state of emergency, was not heard in what the minister said. I'm sure you heard him speak, but he gives a clear indication that they are going to be declaring water bodies and some forest areas as security zones. Does that suffice? Does that fit within the context of declaring a state of emergency?
Well, when the current Lands Minister was in position, he did ask for a state of emergency. A lot of NDC stalwarts were asking the past administration to declare a state of emergency because of the urgency, the catastrophe that we are facing. The current administration has been in authority for 9 months, and we are now going to declare the forest reserves and water bodies security zones. It's a welcome step. But the concern is that it has taken us 9 months to do this. In opposition, we could see the problem very clearly. We were asking the past government to declare a state of emergency. And by that, we made a targeted one for the river bodies, the forest reserves, and the farmlands. If they're now going to declare security zone, that's good news. But we want less of the talk and to hear that they have been declared security zones. And we want to see that the forest reserves are actually no-go areas. We want to see that all the resources at our disposal are being used to remove the environmental terrorists and their equipment from the forest reserves, from the chanfans, from the water bodies, and our farmlands are being cleared. And we don't even want to be hearing the word galamsey. It's pure criminality. Galamsey was using hand tools. They didn't have excavators. They didn't have chanfans. The situation is dire, and we need to use all the resources at our disposal. So let's talk, let's have action, because we're on the verge of an ecological disaster. The extent of the problem was known whilst they were in opposition. They've come, and for me, there hasn't been an urgent look at the situation. So it's a little disappointing. But we are hoping that LI 2462 will be repealed, and we are hoping that the next announcement we hear is that they have been declared security zones, and that we are there removing the environmental terrorists and their equipment, and that we have stopped the importation of excavators. There are sufficient excavators in the country to deal with any legal work that will be required for. We stop the importation of excavators, and that we are going to deal ruthlessly with party members, with anybody who is involved or complicit in illegal mining. We don't want to name and shame today, but we have the names of party chairmen, of what you call politically exposed persons who are actively involved in illegal mining, and those who are complicit. So I'll end by saying that I want to hear that we have cleared these areas security zones, and we are using all the resources at our disposal to get rid of the environmental terrorists and their equipment.
Right, thank you. Now, Dr. Doke, what is your understanding of what the minister says if he says water bodies and forest reserves are now going to be declared as security zones?
Well, thank you very much. When you say an area is going to be declared a security zone, it means you are looking at the aspect of civil personnel, logistics, and then operational equipment, and then enabling that area to be operationally capable of dealing with any kind of threat. So let's look at the number of water bodies that we have, and then the information that I've given. If it is a viable option, is it going to be doable? Are they going to achieve this objective? That's what we need to look at. If not, what can we do? What needs to be done? Because we are talking about a lot of funding, a lot of resources that is going to go into this. And my understanding of the security zone is now that are going to be stationed at that area for how long? And that is what we do if the government is talking about the security zone.
Right, and the concern some are already raising with this would be that how much of the declaration of these areas as security zones lead in the fight against the illegal mining, considering the kind of damage we're talking about, the extent of damage to forest reserves and water bodies? To what extent will this help in that fight when the call for declaration of a state of emergency?
Well, assuming this is doable, then the it will help the fight against illegal mining, because you're talking about dealing directly with the source of this tanker. And that I can assure you that the results will be very much strong and effective, like what we're seeing. Now, if it's not going to be done, or it cannot be achieved, then you're looking at a long-term destructive aspect when it comes to water bodies and the land itself. What government needs to look at when we talk about declaring the military zone, what can you do in the interim? What is the mid to short-term, long-term plan? What is the roadmap itself? Now, we just said the declaration of a military zone. What does it entail? So some of us need, some aspects that can satisfy the questions that we've been asking. And then the proposals for the state of emergency is much more heavier or heftier than some area is and military zone. Now, what happens is, for the mid to long term, you may not require that place to be under a military zone again. You may listen. But when you declare this emergency, it has a long-term implication. Until the situation is dealt with, you are not taking up your resources, you are not taking up your resources, you are not taking responsible funding for that activity.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Doke, for your time and your thoughts on this particular issue. He is a security consultant and lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. Madam Awula, maybe in wrapping up with you, clearly government is playing its part and the citizenry also have a role to play. What would you advise would be the role citizens need to do or play in helping government? Because we depend on these water bodies. We farm in and around these forest areas. And if it's declared as an emergency, as a security zone, access to probably going to the river or going to the forest area, if you have farmland or property in and around those areas, are going to be limited. So what would your advice be in how government and citizens in and around these areas work hand in hand?
Well, I'm not sure I'm in a position to give the best advice, but all I would say is that even currently, the citizens who are working to protect their farms, they are not being supported. I'll give you the example of Tronsu, where the activists who were trying to protect their farmers, were trying to protect their farmlands from the environmental terrorists, they are rather facing charges because two excavators, which were, destroying the environment, two excavators were burnt. Even though the activists said they didn't burn the excavators, criminal charges have been brought against them whilst the environmental terrorists are walking free. And I can say that without a shadow of doubt that communities have to work with the government, but they must be supported. You have, for example, in Gemma, where the chief, the community led by Father JD, have said no illegal mining. And there's absolutely no illegal mining in Gemma. So it can work, but we need to be supported. Activists need to be supported. So when you find politically exposed persons or at least being complicit in what is going on, it makes it very difficult. So I'm sure that whatever modalities are used, the community will be behind the administration so long as they are genuinely trying to protect our forest bodies, our forest reserves, our water bodies, and the farmlands. We all depend on it. We all would, our existence depends on our water bodies, and we all face an existential threat. So we support the administration so long as they are taking steps that will take us away from the catastrophe we are facing.
Thank you so much for your time and thoughts as always, Madam Awula Sewa. She is the National Coordinator for the Eco-Conscious Citizens there. So clearly it's an issue that many of you have already been sharing your thoughts on. We see your messages on our Facebook page. Just look for 3FM 92.7, and then also we're streaming on YouTube. So you would want to watch this bulletin there, and also even the videos and individuals who are speaking to this issue, you can get to see and hear them clearly on these social media platforms we have just. And I'll just look for 3FM on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can be part of the conversation. Staying on these issues of illegal mining, though.
Yes, illegal mining, also known as galamsey, continues to pose a major threat to Ghana's water bodies and farmlands. But this time, the small-scale miners themselves say they are taking action. The National Concerned Small-Scale Miners Association of Ghana has launched a special anti-galamsey task force to clamp down on illegal activities within their own ranks and protect the environment. The newly inaugurated task force will monitor members' operations, enforce compliance, and ensure that only responsible and sustainable mining practices are followed. Under the initiative, members are expected to hold each other accountable through peer reviews to encourage best practices. The association has also deployed task forces across major mining areas and procured a mini speedboat to patrol river bodies where illegal mining is rife. And we'll be going over the phone to speak with the National Association of Small-Scale Miners, Michael Kwejo-Pepra. Martin?
Yes, and Mr. Pepra has joined us for a quick chat on this. Good evening, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Critics often say small-scale miners themselves sometimes, although you are seen as small-scale miners, which is legal and legitimate, there are times your activities also destroy river bodies and farmlands. Have you heard of these kinds of accusations, and how true are they?
First of all, it is true we've heard that. And even with the media, most times when they're talking about illegal mining, they box small-scale miners and illegal mining together. And I just want to reiterate that there's a distinction between a small-scale miner and somebody who is engaging in illegal mining. Somebody who is mining or dredging our various water bodies is an illegal miner. Secondly, the law does not permit small-scale mining to be done in the various forest reserves. So anybody who is found in the forest reserves, being it Ghanaian or Chinese, is engaging in illegal mining. So there is a distinction. There is a distinction between somebody who has gone through the rigorous processes to acquire his or her license to mine responsibly. So at least I just want you to understand that we have people who are mining in a sustainable manner, and we have people who are mining in a responsible manner.
And we'll come to the task force shortly, but talk to us about, again, this, and clearly this is for purposes of education, where you're talking about what small-scale miners do. Any form of mining in a river body is illegal. You've stated that. If you are a small-scale miner and maybe your activities end up polluting a river body, where does that leave you? Are you mining illegally? Would you say
the law only states that one person can be licensed to mine 100 meters from any river banks or any river bodies. So anybody who mines, let's say, 30 meters or even mine in the belly of the river is a galamsey or an illegal miner. As a matter of fact, anybody who does anything contrary to what the laws permits is classified as an illegal miner. So there's a distinction irrespective of the methodology. At least if you flout the laws, you become an illegal miner. But notwithstanding whatever is happening, I just want you to understand, or I want our listeners to understand that small-scale mining is part of the Constitution. And people have been mandated or been given license to mine in a responsible way. You know, every place that mining goes on, you can find rivers at. There are places that people have dug their own boreholes and they are mining in a responsible way. So if indeed we are talking about people who are mining with impunity, at least there are people who are following the right processes.
Right.
They are mining, and as a matter of fact, being it Ghanaians, self-employed Ghanaians, they have gone for loans, and what they do is legal.
Right, Michael, and finally and briefly, so we know that government itself has set up a number of task forces to help in ridding our forest reserves and water bodies of illegal miners. Your association, the Concerned Small Scale Miners Association, you've also launched a task force. Is there a way your task force and government task force or government bodies that are set up to fight illegal mining, is there a way you are working collaboratively, or you are doing your own thing and they are also on their own path?
First of all, whatever we are doing is to augment what the Lands and Natural Resource Minister has been doing. We would applaud the Lands and Natural Resource Ministry to launch the Blue Water Guard. And as an association, it is our duty to make sure that at least all the blame or all the necessary fight shouldn't always come from government. That is why we've set up the peer review system. And in so doing, our task force has small-scale miners who have, made sure that they will help in salvaging the issues that is happening in the communities. As a matter of fact, Galamsey itself affects small-scale mining. And in so doing, I think this is our widow's mite, or this is our challenge to make sure that at least the water bodies that are being destroyed by illegal miners can be cleared, and then
protected.
We can make sure that the stability would improve. That is why now we have as well coming to augment whatever the Blue Water Gas is going
we'll be
about.
Doing. Okay. Michael, thank you for your time. Michael Kwejo-Pepra, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. He is the president of the National Association of Small Scale Miners, Concerned National Association of Small Scale Miners. Also setting up a task force because they believe that their job is on the line because the illegal miners are making it look like all forms of small-scale mining which are legal are also Galamsey activities. So they have set up a task force to help rid the system of the illegal ones. We'll see how all of this plays out in the coming days because it's almost always a national issue when we're talking about Galamsey and mining in Ghana. Let's extend the conversation now beyond mining, although there are some similarities in this because mining is done on the earth, farming is also done on the earth and on land. And what we have gathered indicate that more than 100,000 metric tons of maize and rice from the 2024 harvest is still unsold. The situation has left farmers trapped in debt and threatens their survival, especially in the processing of the wares wherever they find themselves. Now, this has become a topical issue. Many of you may have had experiences, so go to our Facebook page, share a thought with us. We want to hear from you whether you have heard or seen issues about glut in your area, which simply means you've seen excess production, not just of maize, but many of the food produced, we're not getting people to buy them or take them off the farmers, and sometimes they rot away, leaving the farmers heavily stranded. So go to our Facebook page, our YouTube page, and send a message. Let us know where you are sending the message from about this particular issue. Now, the glut, we are told, has worsened, and it has also surged in cheap imports. As a result of cheap imports and rampant smuggling of substandard grains has forced many farmers to sell below production cost. That's the latest revelation coming from the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana. The chamber says that smuggled rice and maize, which evade duties and quality checks, are flooding Ghanaian markets at artificially low prices. Meanwhile, the government has directed the National Food Buffer Stock Company, NAFCO, to buy surplus food and grains from farmers across the country following projections of a bumper harvest this year. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture says the move will prevent a glut on the market, reduce post-harvest losses, and build up reserves for future emergencies. And farmers have been assured of a ready market as NAFCO steps in to stabilize prices and secure the food supply. So let's go to the phone lines now. We'll speak to some farmers or hear from some farmers on this. But let's speak to Anthony Morrison, who is the CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana. Mr. Morrison, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM. Hello, Mr. Morrison. Mr. Morrison, can you hear me? We seem to have a challenge with the line to Anthony Morrison there. But let's now go and hear from some of the farmers who have been talking about the recent glut in parts of the country.
The main issue actually has affected up north. You see, fertilizer is high, and it is going as low as 400, 500 Ghana. Meanwhile, we take about 2 bags of fertilizer, which costs total of about 1,010 to get 1 bag of maize. It costs just 500 Ghana cedis. You see the difference in the price. You see the farmer stands to lose about 500 Ghana, not even make a gain.
How can you have maize to sell it about 250 cedis, 300 cedis, which you were selling about 1,200 or 1,000 cedis? Today you have to sell it about 250 cedis, and there is nobody buying it. How can you survive as a farmer? Please, the farming communities, we are dying. We are dying. You can't do anything again. Maize because of the drought. This year, last year's maize is what we are getting this year. So all of a sudden, we are talking about so much maize that we have. Where did the maize come from? I'm a farmer myself, and I'm facing the same situation that we have. We bought fertilizers at a higher price. This year, we couldn't farm the farming we are supposed to do. So where did they get the maize they are talking about, that their excess maize that Papa saw must now absorb? We are not getting the money that we even invested in the farms last year to even do the same thing this year. So I'm even surprised how we have even harvested our maize this year.
So you heard the views of some farmers who are clearly unhappy about the current situation of their harvest being left to rot because they are not getting the ready market to sell them or take them to. So we'll try and get some thoughts on this. But where are you listening to us from? Have you also an experience regarding this particular issue of glut? Not just maize, but in the last few weeks we saw tomato farmers also making similar complaints or raising similar concerns. Let's now go to the phone lines. Anthony Morrison has joined us. He is the CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana. Mr. Morrison, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Yes, very good evening to your cherished listeners.
What would be your first reaction to the fact that government, through the buffer stock company, has initiated steps to buy the excess maize that these farmers have harvested to at least make sure that we do not have them going waste?
Right, thank you very much. First of all, let me commend government and buffer stock for the prompt attention that they have paid to the challenges facing maize farmers and rice farmers in the country. However, I would like to also add that there is a need for a lot of engagement with the industry. It shouldn't only end at the farmers level, but we need a broad-based consultation where we engage the banks. We also need to engage the processors in order to have a very good guarantee system in place for them to be able to understand that they have the raw materials for them to mill the paddy rice, especially the rice, and also the whole process where we also require a lot of maize for the government agenda for the African security, the livestock, poultry production, and all. So this is a very good response to the industry, but I want to urge the government to do more for farmers and processors, most especially poultry farmers, aquaculture farmers, and some industry processing companies that also uses a lot of maize for beverage and all the other things that we consume in the industry.
What would your advice be to farmers beyond just today? Because this seems to be a seasonal challenge where some are blaming it on lack of planning by the farmers. I mean, they harvest their produce and then they do not know where exactly or the ready markets to send these produce to. Is it that they do not plan properly, or something else is taking the place of the items they are producing?
No, this has got nothing to do with the farmers. Sometimes we have to be very clear on the responsibility and the role farmers play in the food systems in the country. We need a government that invests into data, and that data must inform producers as to what quantity of produce that they should be able to produce per season. And in Ghana, we have 2 seasons. Okay, so we should be able to do that. Now, with all the agenda to upscale and expand our irrigation system in the country, we need this data in place. Crop data that is timely, crop data that is informing farmers in terms of import, and also to even import what data influences or indicates otherwise what quantity of importation should be done and at what point is that. Because what is happening is not a responsibility of the farmers, but the failure of the system to be able to address some of the challenges the farmers are facing. We do know there were some importation of maize in the country at the verge of harvest, major harvest, because this is our major season. Who gave that kind of permit or license for this importation to be done? What data informed the person who gave the permit, and what informed the person to also allow the quantity that was imported into the country vis-a-vis the current situation we are facing? So it's a holistic issue that we need to work as an industry people to address. That notwithstanding, we still think that there's room for further consultation. There's room for a lot of other discussions to be done in order to address the challenges that we are facing.
Mr. Morrison, thank you for your time this evening. Anthony Morrison is the Chief Executive Officer of Agribusiness, of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana. Let's stay on this issue and go to the other phone line. We've also been joined by Bismarck Owusu-Nortey, who is the Executive Director for the Peasant Farmers Association. Mr. Nortey, good evening. Thank you for joining us. How serious is the concern of your farmers or your colleagues when it comes to issues of glut?
Hello, good evening.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for joining us. I'm asking if you can give us an idea of how serious the glut issue is from your farmers.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I think that the situation is really getting depressing and quite frustrating to the extent that farmers are now at a point where they are even willing to sell below prices that will not make them break even. If you consider an average farmer and the amount he spends on an acre of land, even for maize production, which is averaging about 3,000, 4,000 Ghana cedis per acre, and he is supposed to sell 1 kilo of maize for as low as 3 cedis, 4 cedis, then you should know that there's a big problem. And currently, that is a situation that a lot of the farmers are facing. And if you also look at the rice value chain, it's the same, where now farmers are complaining that there are people who are willing to even buy a kilo of rice for as low as 3 cedis. In fact, there are instances where the farmers are so frustrated to the extent that they are willing to sell them even below that price.
But what is the problem? Where is this challenge stemming from? Is it lack of proper planning, or there isn't a ready market for it, or what?
I don't think it's a lack of proper planning by the farmers. I think it's within a context. In the first place, you have to look at what happened last year. If you look at what happened last year, the average cost of maize, 1 kilogram of maize, farmers were averaging between 6 cedis to 7 cedis, 8 cedis in some instances. And for farmers, when we are able to produce and we are able to get competitive pricing, the urge to increase production is high. So the expectation that we are going to produce more because we had relatively good prices last year was one of the factors that accounted for the high increase in production. Secondly, if you look at a product like rice, the recent appreciation of the cedi has made the local rice even more expensive than the foreign rice. So you realize that even the millers and then the market women will prefer to get the imported rice as against what the local farmers are producing. And that is also being fueled by the smuggling that is going on, where some of these local rice, these foreign rice, are imported through illegal means into the country. So some of them, because they are evading taxes and things like that, their prices are generally lower. So the combination of the cedi appreciation and then the smuggling has made the imported rice relatively less expensive as compared to the local rice. So the market for local rice has reduced drastically. If you look at a commodity like maize, for instance, as at last year, the high prices, one of the reasons why the high prices were there was because our borders were also opened. So you could have both local and foreign people coming to buy the produce. Now there is more or less like an embargo, a ban on foreigners coming to buy food produce. And so those produce are locked up now. The local buyers are unable to pay the competitive price that will enable the farmer to recover his or her production cost.
Right.
So that's a challenge. So a combination of this has made it difficult for farmers to sell at prices that will make them competitive. And now because we have old stock and we are waiting new stock, and the fact that even storage is a major problem,
right,
getting the right pricing is becoming a challenge. And so that's why we think that the announcement by NAFCO is in the right direction. Thankfully, we are part of the committee that is looking at the proposals and looking at a strict pricing regime that will make the farmers at least recover their costs. And we just hope that by as early as possible, the mechanism should be in place. But going forward, I think that the system should be put in place because this approach, in our opinion, is long overdue. NAFCO was set up long time ago, and surprisingly, this is the first time something like this is happening. This is something that should have been done a long time ago, so that by the time that farmers are producing, we are sure of what the market wants and what NAFCO will produce and purchase for stock.
Okay. Thank you, Bismarck Owusu-Nortey, for your time and the clarity and explanation you have brought to this conversation. He is the Executive Director for the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. This is still 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. We're bringing you all the major stories that have happened in and around the country, and we are going to one that bothers all of you, called utility.
The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has justified the recent price hikes of 1.14% on electricity tariffs. Director of Research and Corporate Affairs of the PURC, Dr. Eric Kofi Obute, said consumers are getting value for money despite persistent complaints over poor services. The PURC announced an across-the-board adjustment of 1.14% in electricity tariffs effective October 1, 2025. Water tariffs, however, will no longer increase, remaining at a 0% increment for the fourth quarter of 2025. The PURC in statement said the factors considered in this review included the Ghana cedi to US dollar exchange rate, domestic inflation rates, the electricity generation mix, that's hydro and thermal, and the cost of natural gas. As a result of these factors, the PURC approved new electricity rates for various customer categories. For Lifeline customers 0 to 30 kilowatts, the new tariff is 80 cedis 4389 per kilowatt up to 79 cedis 53.08. All other residential customers using up to 300 kilowatts will now pay 182 Ghana cedis per per kilowatt. Let's take a listen to Dr. Eric Obute, who spoke earlier on TV3's News Central.
Very much, Marina. I believe you read out a number of factors that we consider when we are doing the minor tariff.
Inflation inclusive as well, and that's also been on the downward trajectory.
So those factors are beyond the control of the service provider, and I'm going to explain to you. One of the factors which we consider is the inflation. The other factor which we consider is the exchange rate.
Right.
Now, the exchange rate that we used the last time in the third quarter was 10 cedis, 70 pesos to the dollar. As we speak, the exchange rate that we are using is 12 cedis, 37 pesos. So there's a shortfall in that already. Okay, and we need to, just as you rightly pointed out, the minor tariff review is to make sure that we restore the value of the tariff in the previous quarter. So exactly that is what we are trying to do in this particular quarter, by trying to restore the value of the tariff. So even though we have seen a decline in the inflation rate, we have seen also a slight depreciation of the currency, whereby we use 10 cedis, 70 pesos as against this current tariff. Now we are using 12 cedis, 37 pesos. So that gap is what we are trying to close.
Year started when the city began to perform creditably against the US dollar. We've seen the two previous quarters, that appreciation of the city, we didn't see a resultant decrease in tariffs. The explanation we got from the PURC was that we were settling some debts which had accumulated, and so we...
This time around, just as you rightly pointed out, we've seen that the exchange rate has depreciated marginally. And that gap, we need to close that gap. The utilities don't have control over the exchange rate the way it moves. Neither does the PRC have control over the exchange rate the way or the direction in which it moves. All we try to do is that we try to restore the value of the tariffs.
That was Director of Research and Corporate Affairs of the PURC, Dr. Eric Kofi Obute. Now, the minority in Parliament is raising strong concerns over what it calls a blatant constitutional breach, accusing government of secretly entering into an agreement with the United States to accept non-Ghanaian deportees. The caucus say the deal, which has not received parliamentary approval, undermines Ghana's sovereignty and poses both security and policy risks. They are therefore demanding the immediate suspension of the Ghana-US deportation agreement until it is properly ratified by Parliament. This controversy follows Ghana's to insist that the government erred when it took them in. Samuel Abujinapo is ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, and we will bring you that in a subsequent bulletins. This is still Hot Edition. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Bismarck Awusai standing by for business.
It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596-920-833 or 0302-200-390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Accra, Ghana, Africa, and worldwide. Join us on Inspirational Gospel Mix this and every Sunday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
I just wanna
Minister of Education to show patience and empathy when engaging with frustrated parents and students over the ongoing school placement challenges. She made the call during a visit to the ministry in Accra.
The Vice President's visit comes at a time of a growing tension over the computerized school selection and placement system. Some students are still without placement, leading to frustration among parents and students. During her visit, Professor Jenano Pukwajimai appealed to staff to remain calm and courteous in responding to public concerns. She also expressed optimism that government will work to expand access to top-tier schools.
I know you are doing your school placement and you have all kinds of people besieging, if not your offices, your homes, your phones, and all of them. What can we do? Let's just try very politely to explain the situation. What we tried to do then was to create more A schools with the E-blocks. And that's one of my regrets, that we were not able to implement all of it too.
Up next is Business with Michael Obodu.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, insurance firm urges Ghanaians to prioritize cover in home ownership plans. I am Michael Obodu. Details coming up shortly. Please stay. And thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. Industry players say Ghanaians must begin to view insurance as a vital component of their financial planning, especially when acquiring property. The call follows a recent report indicating that over 11 million Ghanaians will require some form of financial assistance to afford a home. Speaking to Treve Business on the sidelines of Media General's National Thought Leadership Forum held on Tuesday, themed Blueprint to Brick, Making Affordable Housing Work. Managing Director of Sanlam Alliance Insurance, Mabel Pobley, emphasized that insurance plays a critical role in mitigating risk associated with such a major capital investment.
This is important for everything. Like we call it, it's financial planning. And when you are planning anything, you also want to look at the risk management part of it. And that's where insurance will come in. So when we talk about affordable housing, already it's affordable. You're looking for, funds to get the construction in place. And so how do you protect the funds? How do you protect the construction? That's where we will come in with what we call contractors all risk, where we cover the whole construction phase so that should anything happen, you don't need to go look for additional capital to ensure that the project finishes. And then when the houses are done and people now own the houses, they can take what we call either home insurance or content insurance. And home insurance basically means that you've basically put capital to owning the home. You must cover it. It's really unfortunate how people have spent so much money to buy houses and yet they don't take any insurance cover for it. So in the event that something happens, your capital is gone, your livelihood is gone. When you take insurance, at least you know that you're covered and you can go back to the insurance company to get the capital to either rebuild the house or to get a new house.
So that was Managing Director of Sanlam Alliance Insurance, Mabel Pobley, speaking there. Now, the ECOWAS committee levy is likely to be adjusted upwards as member states, including Ghana, begin reviewing the regional tax technique mechanism in response to declining revenues and the need to bolster regional financing. The levy, which imposes a 0.5% charge on goods imported from non-ECOWAS countries, has been in place for over 18 years. However, it now faces growing challenges around compliance and operational efficiency. Speaking at a meeting in Accra to approve draft regulations for the ECOWAS Community Levy Operations Manual, Dr. Robert Moikoa, representative of the chairman of the ECOWAS Administration and Finance Committee, said the time was right to reassess the levy to ensure the long-term sustainability of ECOWAS programs.
Without doubt, the levy remains the largest source of funding for all ECOWAS programs and activities. This justifies the reason of our efforts to ensure its sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to therefore appreciate the management of ECOWAS for championing and delivering on the Council approval for the development of an operational manual that is aimed at providing guidance and clarity on the smooth implementation of the ECOWAS Community Levy Supplementary Act. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that this consultation today, this validation exercise here today, goes beyond the primary objective of the validation of the operational manual.
So you heard there Dr. Robert Moikoa. He is a representative of the chairman of the ECOWAS Administration and Finance Committee.